folks, welcome back to the More Auto Solutions YouTube channel. Today we are going to be going over the E9X V8 M3's common problems. So if you're watching this video, you're either one, looking at buying one of these cars, or two, you already own one and you just want to know what you got yourself into. So let's dive in. This is the only V8 M3 to be produced by BMW. It has the S65 4.0 dual overhead cam V8. It is a derived engine from racing applications. It was a 4.4 liter in the Z4 race car that ran the GT3 field for a long time. It's a very stout mechanical engine. Doesn't really have anything that's commonly failed on the valve train side or anything that is commonly failed mechanically, except for a few issues that you might already know or you're about to learn today. So let's dive in. Number one is going to be the most common ever. Rod bearings. Everybody talks about them. So rod bearings affected a very small number of these particular vehicles actually, but overall some people call them a very common problem. I think basically number one, basic maintenance, number two, oil for your correct application, and number three, just being nice to it, warm it up. That's really all you need to do. If you want to go ahead and change your rod bearings, that's a personal preference choice. Do a Blackstone, see where you're at. Number two, kind of beaten with a dead horse, is going to be your throttle actuators. They're going to be underneath the plenum, in this right underneath this plenum, because it's not really technically an intake manifold. It is a plenum because it doesn't seal technically. So right underneath there, you're going to have two actuators that actuate all the ITBs. That is going to be your next most common failure. They are very early Bosch electronics. Early is a relative term, but it is something to keep note of, and you are going to have to do them at some point. So remember that. Number three are going to be fuel injectors. These fuel injectors are a Bosch unit. They do over time start to leak down overnight, and they do put excess fuel into the actual combustion chamber. Now, every vehicle usually will have this. Some of them have it more than others. These just, we've noticed over time, happen to be that. Number four, coil packs. Coil packs, same thing. These coil packs, every coil pack ages. It's just unfortunate that the OEM coil packs, which are down there, are $270 a piece through FVC Euro, which is the cheapest way you're going to get them. If you do have a problem, the rule of thumb with these, anything electronic based on the E9X OEM, please. You will literally chase your tail if you don't do an OEM component. Number five are going to be valve cover gaskets. It's pretty normal. So these valve covers are actually magnesium from the factory. It was for lightweight. You are going to have to do the valve cover. All of the coating that they put on, because magnesium is very porous, flakes off over time. I had mine refinished. These are actually a different set that I bought and had refinished by a company that actually specializes in magnesium coating. So I had them blast them, prep them, and powder coat them wrinkle black, which I think is a really good accent, but you are going to have to do them. They all leak over time. Number six is going to be your idle air actuator. It is going to be similar to your valve actuator, but it sits directly in the center of the plenum, around where these two bolts are, right underneath here. It is that tube that comes around and connects in here. That is your idle air actuator. It literally helps the car idle because ITBs have notoriously a bad problem with idling. So they solved this by putting a central throttle body that actuates for at idle. So it feeds just enough air to the ITBs that the engine stays running. Number seven is oil filter housing gasket. So that is your oil filter housing right there. The gasket bolts to the front of the block. The actual oil restrictor is in there as well. I recommend doing that at the same time. They just get really brittle and they start leaking. It'll leak all over your AC compressor and just all over the front of the motor. It's pretty easy to tell when that starts leaking, but I would recommend doing it even if it's not. Now, we finally are out from under the engine bay. We can kind of move on. The heart and soul does genuinely have the most problems. The rear diff. I don't have this on a lift, so I'm just going to go to the back of the car. The front pinion seal does leak over time. The only other thing I would associate with the diff would be diff bushings, but every car has diff bushings. At certain mileages or ages, they're going to start wearing out. But the front pinion seals genuinely do leak on these E9X chassis cars. The front, coming up to the front, these cars have got all monoball style bushings. They're spherical. They wear out and you start getting play. Now, if you're driving down the highway when you're test driving one of these, or if you own one, you start to feel it in the front end, the wheel will just start to slight vibrate in your hand. It's probably your lower control arms, upper and lower. They get wear out. It's not really a big safety concern, but it is something to note. It is pretty normal. So if you take one for a test drive, don't be scared if you feel a little bit of that vibration. It's probably just the lower control arms. Now, this might be a big one for some people, but it's going to happen to every single E chassis of this generation. The fenders are plastic. The front bumper is plastic. The fenders love to crack, just like mine is, right here in this seam where the bumper comes to it. I actually had to build a custom bracket that holds my bumper, because I am going to replace this with a European unit, so I'm not too particularly worried about it. Be prepared. Almost every one of them cracks over time. This one has started to. You can just see it right in there. They love to crack. They just do it. It's just kind of a characteristic of this particular model. It's not a very good system. Now, what I would recommend doing to fix this, there is companies that make carbon fiber front fenders. They can be OEM style. They can have a vent. If you like OEM, just go with OEM. But they usually come with a backer, an aluminum backer that comes back here when the bumper bolts up to it. That will solve this. That will get rid of that problem. The only thing you can do to maybe solve it is make some sort of a bracket that takes the load off of the bumper, but there's nothing really good on the market yet. I wouldn't put that in your back pocket like that's going to be a thing that you're going to do. I think you're just going to have to accept it when they break. You're either going to buy an OEM one or you're going to upgrade. But that is it for our common problems video. And this is just if you are thinking about getting into this generation M3, or if you just want to know more about your M3, that what you're going to face. These cars are getting older. They're having more issues. They're also low enough in price that more people are getting into them, which is why videos like this are important. Now, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. We're going to have many more videos about this. We're also going to have another video more extensive about common problems overall. These are just really the big top 10s all that you're going to face. We're going to go deeper dive into it, but that's for another video. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good day.